All right, good morning. Happy Friday. It is Friday, right? All right. Oh, so for those of you who thought that your paycheck just sort of magically shows up in your account, I'm going to just dispel this notion entirely. I'm actually going to let the team do that. The process of getting your paycheck is way more complicated than I would guess that the average Denver Water person actually realizes. And with that, I'll turn it over to
Well, we started on a venture on Monday to review the payroll process from beginning to end, which starts with hiring employees all the way to getting paychecks. So we left out a few of the hiring stuff, but we have representatives from HR, HRIS, IT. It was an amazing group. The thing. Okay. So I'm going to just introduce the couple team members that aren't here, and the rest of them can introduce themselves. So Jonathan Spitzy helped us, and Mary Morrow, and they're both off today.
My name is Felipe. I'm with Payroll.
Lynn Polly with HRIS.
Tommy Hahn with HRIS.
Sally Palmer, HRIS.
Mohan with IT.
DS with IT.
Deb Engelman, Human Resources.
Brooke Peterson, Finance. Oh, need to go. It's okay. I wasn't there most of the week. Tatum Segura, Finance.
And we'll add another thank you to a whole bunch of other people that helped us along the way, emergency phone calls, and we jumped into their offices, and they all participated with great help, and it was really awesome. This was probably one of the best teams I think I've ever got to work with for a week. It was a really great experience. So if you wonder why were we encountering on this venture, we wanted to look at the payroll process and see where there was extra steps, where there was things we can improve, make more efficient. And we also wanted to educate all of us about the process. So we accomplished both of those things this week, which is super, super exciting. This is where we started. So I'll let Felipe take that slide.
So as you can see, the current process is very extensive. A lot of steps that we have to follow to get to our end product. We have a few fixed deadlines that we need fixed because we have multiple handoffs. We also have some unnecessary or redundant steps that can be eliminated.
We thought that the best analogy for this process is a plate full of spaghetti. There are several processes, systems that integrate, such as PeopleSoft, Kronos, and JDE. And then we have a variety of groups that are participating, such as HRIS, payroll, and IT. If processes do not go as planned and there are challenges that need to be faced, it can be one messy plate. But in the end, when checks are paid and employees receive their paychecks, it's still one satisfying serving of comfort food.
So the target state that we want to be at is where the timesheets are all turned in, approved, error-free by Monday morning at 10 a.m. Along with that, we want to make sure all the other deductions, contributions, such as 401k Empower, tuition reimbursement, safety, all those things are all turned in 8 days prior to the paycheck, so Wednesday by 1 p.m. Otherwise, if it's beyond that, it'll be processed in the following pay period. No exceptions. Now that the data is all in there for payroll to process, the team will be able to focus on creation of pay sheets and calc and all that good stuff. And that's actually a barbed wire around payroll team on the bottom, so that they're not distracted. There's nobody, there's not a constant interruption. As a result, employees, I know you can't see it, but there's green dollar signs. Everyone's paid happily, along with all the other data that goes to different system and journal entry to GL and so forth.
So for our gap analysis, we identified 4 or 5 areas that were painful for the process. The biggest one was deadlines. We really hadn't defined clear deadlines, published them, talked to the people. Time cards not being approved, and there were no consequences for late deadlines. Process improvements, one of the issues is if you change your main account, they always had to do a pre-note, so you got a physical check. They're going to try to move that process up, take care of the pre-notes ahead of time, so essentially we hope to eliminate all physical checks. Supervisors were having issues in Kronos when they had to enter time for their people. They couldn't distinguish easily between hourly and salary. We changed the description so that the hourly prints first and the salary prints first, so hopefully that will alleviate people getting their time in correctly. One of the policy issues was around our premium pay. Mike, I saw you in here. We talked about you a lot. So we have a solution for that, which will be revealed later. W-4 changes, also as people were making W-4 changes, it was updating only federal taxes, not state taxes. Payroll had to intervene and go in and do that extra step. So we're going to try to improve that so it's all done when the employee submits the change. And then disruptions was a big issue for payroll when they're trying to process, they're getting other people questions. It's really easy to lose place where you're at. A lot of their processes are a one-time only shot. If they run it twice, IT has to intervene and that doesn't make them happy, So
once the gap analysis is over, we approach the problem by identifying the problem statements. So all of us identified all the problem statements, which gives us a clear definition of what the issues were. Once those were identified, we went about asking why are those problems occurring. There were some issues, the whys were pretty easy. Some issues, the whys were like we had to go to 4 whys before we identified the root cause. Once we had the root cause, we provided a solution, and if we have the solution, what are we going to alleviate? So that's the chart on the left. Once that was done, we were able to nail down solutions into one of the sticky notes up on the impact difficulty chart. So we went about fixing the issues that had very high impact to the organization that were like easier to fix. So those were the ones that we fixed, and the resulting of those fixes are you can't see pretty much anything in there, but that's supposed to be a meatball chart which shows the metrics about where we are with the issues.
So as you can see, we've streamlined the payroll process. As you can see, there's less red stickies there. We've also moved some of the processes up front instead of waiting until the first Monday when we start payroll processing. We removed some redundant and unnecessary steps, and we set deadlines for the handoffs.
So the visual control board is the tool that Felipe and Eman will use to monitor and measure the number of errors during a payroll process, the number of errors during the Kronos process, and the number of missed deadlines. And this will begin to develop the metrics for maybe future analysis of gaps that we have in the process.
So there were 3 metrics that we were using throughout this process. The first one was the number of errors that we see in Kronos when we do our reasonableness. And currently it's about 5 per pay period. And we're trying to reduce that by 50%. And then the handoffs. So right now we have 36 handoffs. With our new process, we've gotten that down to 34, I believe, already. So we're getting to the 50%. We're not close, but we're getting there. And then the last one is the number of errors during payroll, and that's about 18. And what that really consists of is after payroll is run, we will get emails saying, oh, I put personal leave instead of PTO, or I forgot to put my PTO on this date. So then we have to go and do a historical correction. So currently we have about 18 of those per pay period. Okay, so we worked on 6 different activities to help with this process. The first one is we tested the new proposed process for payroll, and we are going to test it again parallel with this next payroll. So we're going to do that on Thursday, so hopefully that'll be completed and our box will be green. The next one is working on the W-4. So right now when you submit a W-4 change into self-service, it only updates federal. So we have to go in and manually make state match that. So and the way the current process is, if we get those all the way up through processing, we have to make sure it's done before we can confirm payroll. So that can cause a lot of delays in the payroll processing. So if we can get the state to automatically update, then we won't have to do that process. And we're hoping to get that completed by the 11th of June. We have a little bit more testing to do for the hourly and salary codes in Kronos, just to make sure that it's not causing problems any other places in the process. We're going to put a double screen or 2 monitors in the file room for Sally, so she can have a place to go when she's doing her critical piece of payroll processing, so she doesn't have any interruptions. And that hopefully will be done by the beginning of July. And then we're going to need to make whatever changes that we've tested in beta, PeopleSoft beta, PeopleSoft test. And once we know those are correct, then we need to make those changes in PeopleSoft production. So we hope to have that done once the next payroll has been tested. And then the last one is the policy for premium pay and overtime, doing the A3 for that. And Julie and Jonathan worked on that in our event, and so now that one is green.
So there was a lot of work accomplished in that week, and I just want to say another thank you to the executive team for being there, being engaged, and helping us move forward on some of these things that we weren't sure we would get moved forward this week. So they were very critical to moving as fast as we did, and Jonathan and I actually wrote another A3, and it's all ready to go. So that was a great outcome. The other thing I want to say is this team was amazing. We pushed back on them a lot, and I'll look at the IT guys because we really pushed on the process, and they stood up and helped us get there. We tested all kinds of things to see where we could really get efficiencies, and it was just a great team. Everybody jumped in and looked at different stuff. We had, go to the next one. We had a lot of amazing lessons learned and insights. The week went pretty fast, which was good. I don't know that anybody can read that from back there. No, I can't read it. I can't read it either. That's why I have it on paper. We learned a lot about the payroll process. That actually came from a lot of the members of the team. So that's awesome because now we all have an understanding of all the things we need to go through to get this successful. We have many touch points. The process, even at the end, is still complicated, but it's much more efficient now, so it's efficiently complicated. We had the right team members in the room. We had the group there that was ready to work. They jumped in. We figured out ways we could do it. And everybody gained a lot better understanding of the payroll process, which I think is a huge outcome. Feelings. I think everybody got tired. I would say Tuesday was probably the most tired day, and then it seems like they all came back and were revived and dug in and jumped in Wednesday and Thursday again. We accomplished a lot. Always have more room for improvements. There's still, skepticism of whether we can hit that hard deadline, and we'll definitely have to ask for support from the executive team to get that done. And they're all nodding their head back there in case you guys can't see that. So, the exciting thing with the Denver Water values is we hit every value. So that was pretty exciting. Jonathan kind of claimed that as a triple crown, that we had all of them represented on the board when we were done. So it was an amazing week. It was a great outcome. We have work to continue to do. We're listening to our customers. I look at Mike because he talks to me a lot. We're trying to get the process more efficient and more effective for our employees. so they can do their job and be successful, and we can all do our job and be successful. So I think it was a great, productive week, and I want to give a special thank you to Christy, who told me not to, but I'm going to anyway. So David, she's wonderful.
I agree. Thank you, Christy. I want to thank the entire team. They have actually been preparing for this event since February. And it started with a couple people saying in payroll, you know, this process is really hard. And they're really tied to their desk, the two folks that do payroll for 1,000+ employees, answering phone calls, getting interruptions, trying to make sure everybody's pay is right. And they're working so hard. Julie and I said, we need to look at this. We need to make their work a little more visible. And as soon as we started to map that out with Christy's help back in February, we realized this is so much bigger than two people. It's all the changes that are coming at them. And there's no space in their day to even respond. They really are just like firefighting, another change, another upgrade, another benefit, that improvement that has to go. So as soon as we started getting it and shedding the light on it, we started mapping bigger and bigger processes that were causing, you know, all these things to roll down. And what I really appreciate is when we started to reach out to the other people who touch this process, beyond the two payroll people, IT, HR, when we asked them to come and spend hours and hours to help us look at this from that bigger picture, they all jumped in and wanted to help. And I just so appreciate that everybody looks at this as this is our payroll process, and we want to get it right for our employees. So thank you to this team. Look forward to some changes in the process as they kind of flagged. There may be some deadlines, and they're looking for support from us to meet those deadlines. That's probably the biggest ask I have, is to help this team as they put in place these processes, meet those deadlines to make this process work better for everybody. So thank you. Thank you, everybody.
I have one more thank you. Uh-oh. E-Man, can you come to the front? So he's going to be like, I'm sorry, McCabe. So I want you guys to realize that payroll actually ran this week. So Emmanuel ran the real process while we all worked on the RIE. So we want to do a special thank you that he made sure all of us got a paycheck today. Oh, any questions? And this is a funny photo, a tribute to one of our admins who likes to pose for pictures. So you can tell through the end of the week, this team had fun. And that was awesome. You know, it's great when you can do great things and enjoy it in the process. So if you look at the picture of finance downstairs, you'll know who that's a tribute to. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, Mike. Well, the executive team gave us the mission to fix your underlying major problem instead of fix it with the fit gap. So we're moving forward on it, and we'll meet with probably Tom next week to see where we go next. But the A3 is done. Jonathan and I have completed it, and it's ready for the executives to look at. Yep. And we did reach out. We talked to, just so you know, Patty, we grabbed Gail and Chris yesterday and talked through it with them. Yeah, so we're looking at the whole policy to review what Denver Water business needs are and what's a better way to fit our business needs and get the policies and the business in alignment. And probably ultimately alleviate in premium pay with a different solution. I don't want anybody to go panic. Yes.
Yeah, Friday, not necessarily this Friday.
On Friday, yes. So it has to go through the executive team, and then it will have to go through the policy committee. The personnel policy committee will probably be pretty good, considering half of them are on this team and the other half we talked to yesterday. So I think that meeting will go relatively smooth. And then it will have to go up to the board. So ultimately, there is a little bit of time that it takes to get it done. But honestly, Mike, Jonathan and I thought it would be 6 months. And the executive team, kudos to them. They all jumped in and said, no, let's fix the problem. Because our ultimate goal with Kronos is to let it do its job without us having to do a lot of manual work and get our employees paid correctly. And my ultimate goal is that Mike is not spending 2 hours on payroll every Monday. You're welcome. It's not just Mike, but he's just the one that's been reaching out for help, which I really appreciate. We wouldn't know if he didn't come and talk to us. So that's definitely, you know, if you guys have something like that, you have to talk to us. We don't know if it's not working if you don't talk to us. You're welcome. Anything else? All right, David, thank you.
So if I were to say WGLL, does anyone know what that means? What good looks like. And so I'm going to say that this team and what you heard described today is what good looks like. We identified a problem. We found some, I call it treasure. Team got together. They started to dig into it. And then they found, oh, wait, there's a lot more input. There's a lot more experts that we need to go tackle this. And really, all the stuff that we do is really as simple as we get the right people together to work on a very specific problem, and we shield them from the organization for a little bit of time and let them go do that work. And with that, have a great Memorial Weekend.